if we could address you directly right now?
Everything comes full circle.
That's number one.
I don't tell him what questions to ask me.
There are a lot of people around town that have the same question.
Brush my teeth. I'm gonna get washed in the morning.
I can't confirm or deny.
You know, just keep going a little bit longer here, Mike. Keep going a little bit longer.
Geo Oswego, W249BC Mattydale, W261AC Oswego, WTKWHD2 Bridgeport, ESPN Radio.
Fran Brown this, Fran Brown that.
If you want me to take a lie detector, Brian, I'll take it.
Portal watch this, Portal watch that.
The dog Mama Duke. People say I like that dog.
What are you talking about playing walk-on? Who do you think walked onto the team?
Anybody that thinks this is going to come back is either naive or plain stupid.
All across CNY.
Kick the tires and light the fires, Big Daddy.
It's the 315.
Hardy faking, feeds the crease. Jameson got it!
He scores! Woo!
Here's Brian Higgins.
Friday, welcome in to the program here at the Q's Utica. Rome. What's up, Rome? Glad to have you back, Rome. We didn't have Utica Rome with us yesterday. They were listening to New York Yankees baseball, off to a 1-0 start for the season yesterday. We always have Q Sports Talk with us, QSportsTalk.com, on the Twitch, on the YouTube. Get the chat. We got the chat up in front of our face. We are ready to interact, chat, converse, yell, whatever. We got 2 hours. We can run through the gamut of emotions before our weekend kicks in around about 6 o'clock tonight. Got eyes on the Sweet 16 on the women's side of things. North Carolina and Duke are currently playing avert your eyes matchup. It's 39-32 Duke with 8:37 to go in the entire game. God, watching Duke play is hard, but they're up 7 with a chance to get to the Elite 8 on the women's side of things. We'll keep eyes on that. We got Sweet 16 coming up tonight to get into. We got the Sweet 16 games. My eyes feel a little blurry-eyed after staying up till God knows when last night, watching the end of that Houston-Texas Tech game. And that was a fantastic and fun end of the overtime. We'll get into that. Portal watch results. Yes. We'll get into that. We had our Yankees sponsor event earlier today that we've been telling you about with Daryl Strawberry in town. It was cool to hang out with Daryl and our crew there for an hour or two at the Wildcat earlier today. Got a little conversation with Daryl that will bring you later on in the program. Mario will be by with a six-pack. It is Friday. So the man who sort of knows, thinks about as we launch our way into the weekends. And of course, around all of that, would love to hear from you. Phone's always open at 315-437-7644. That is a 4 at ESPN, and another 44 if you'd like to join us and hang out and chat and converse on this here Friday all across the 315. But glad to have you here. Welcome in on this Friday afternoon, heading our way toward the weekend, heading our way to knowing what the Final Four is in a couple of days, and we might as well head our way toward the start of the program.
We start with the Burdick BMW opening drive.
As we launch into it here today, and where else to launch? Where else to launch but with the big news of last night?
The portal is open.
Prepare ship for ludicrous speed.
Players on the move.
Scotty, beam us up fast.
Where are they going?
To infinity and beyond.
It's another edition of Portal Watch.
Ludicrous speed. Go!
Well, there we were, minding our business last night, watching the Sweet 16, when sometime before the games ended, which means it could have been very, very late indeed, the news landed that Syracuse has its first entrance from the transfer portal this year. One William Kyle the third from UCLA is committed to join Syracuse basketball. Sources, he was in town yesterday. Sources spotted young William out and about, getting ready to get situated in his Syracuse lifestyle going forward. So as we hit here, Portal Watch Day 5, one spot is accounted for in William Kyle III from UCLA, who is a power forward / center, defensive rim protector, athletic, bouncy type. He's listed as a forward. My presumption is Syracuse will be using him mostly at center at 6'9", 230, but we shall see. Here's the info on Kyle. And you can read this whichever way you want to read it. And it's very easy to read it both directions. 99 career games in 3 years in college. It's a lot. He's been around the block. That I find is a good thing. Last year at UCLA, if all you were to know about William Kyle III from UCLA was what he did this past college basketball season was this: 2.9 points per game, 1.8 rebounds per game, slightly more than half a block a game, less than 10 minutes a game. You might look at that and run screaming for the hills and say, What is that? This is the get? This is the first get out of the portal? If you were to look what he did the year prior at South Dakota State, shout-outs to Sioux Falls, the Jackrabbits. In 2024 at South Dakota State, yes, a lower level in the Summit League, William Kyle III, these numbers: 13 points a game, 6.5 rebounds a game, more than a block and a half a game in nearly 28 minutes a game. And this accolade from the Summit League 2 years ago, he was the 2024 Summit League Defensive Player of the Year. So what do we make of that? An excellent season 2 years ago in a very specific defensive first role at a mid-major program that made the NCAA tournament. Let's add that in as well. South Dakota State, they weren't just a team where he just put up rando stats. They were a winning team that appeared in the tournament. This year, UCLA was in the tournament. Kyle had a few early injuries, and then, I don't want to say he didn't play. He played, but sparingly so. He averaged less than 10 minutes a game. He was in the rotation, but not vital. What does that tell us? Everything I'm reading so far from people that seem to maybe know what they're talking about is that the reason Kyle didn't play a ton at UCLA was maybe once he got there, UCLA went kind of hog wild in the portal last year, that center and forward minutes kind of dwindled. He kind of got stuck in a logjam, and he didn't really see the court. Everyone here, because who cares about there on the West Coast, everyone here looks at what happened last year with the mid-major players that came in and is freaked out. And they see this guy who was a mid-major player and a very good mid-major player. He was the conference defensive player of the year in his league back 2 seasons ago. Jaquan Carlos, as we recall, was all defense in his league, not player of the year, but was considered to be good at defense, and we saw what happened here. We see what Kyle did, then we see what he did in a major school, UCLA, in a major league, the Big Ten, which still is weird to say that UCLA is in the Big Ten. So I can look at his move from UCLA to Syracuse any way I want. I can look at it as, wow, Syracuse is getting an athletic, bouncy forward center type that is basically everything the opposite of what Eddie Lampkin was last year. He's not an offensive, creative dude. He is a rim runner, leaper, shot blocker. He is everything that Eddie Lampkin wasn't, and basically nothing of what he was. You can read that as good, bad, and whatever. I can also read it as this guy succeeded at the lower level and failed at the higher level. Or I can read it as this guy was one of the most sought-after bigs in the portal last year, and he just went to the wrong location and it didn't work. All he needs is a change in a different scheme. It'll be back to the guy he was 2 years ago. What's the actual answer going to be? I have zero idea. What I do know is that when I look at what he is, let's rephrase that slightly. When I look at what he supposedly should be as a player, a.k.a. some version of what he was 2 years ago at South Dakota State. I look at a guy that makes sense for how Red talks about his desire of playing basketball, where whatever Eddie Lampkin was this past season, and he ended up having, statistically, I mean, double-doubles, all this stuff, he had statistically a very good year by the end. Injuries killed the season at the beginning. He was not necessarily what people thought he was, but he was exactly what he is. And that's a ground-bound, creative, intriguing, not really all that athletic center. This guy's everything opposite. He's a jackrabbit, leaper, shot blocker, but he's not like run the offense through him type of guy. Which, honestly, based on what Red says he wants to be as a program, as a head coach, as all of that, makes a lot more sense to me. What we have no idea based off the last year is whether his South Dakota State, they're both SDSU. Yes, it's confusing. Yes, he was at a school in California. No, it was a different one. Yes, he was in South Dakota 2 years ago. Got it? What we don't know is, did his talent not translate to an upper level because it couldn't go to an upper level? Or did his talent just not translate to what UCLA's specific situation was? And unfortunately for us, hopefully for Red, for Alex Klein, for all the people involved in this evaluation and this move, it ends up on the right side of the coin. For us, I don't know. I like the theory behind it. Athletic, bouncy center, really could play defense at a lower level. What will it look like at Syracuse? I couldn't begin to tell you. But it does, and I've talked about this for weeks now. This at least fits what seems to be the stated plan. Will that plan work? I don't know. But the main thing I want to see this year from Red is, all right, it's either going to work, it's not going to work, we don't know. But if he's going to go down this year, I'd love for him to at least go down with the pieces that in theory fit the plan that he wants to show us. Then we can at least see what it's going to be. This seems to be that. Now, for people freaking out, this guy, the center, your only center, this hopefully is not your only move at big man in the portal. Could you still go get a Quincy Ballard, Syracuse native, Florida State, Wichita State, maybe coming back home for his sixth year in college? I think you pair those two and call it your center spot, and okay. Would they be willing to do that? What's the money you paid to Kyle? What's the money you'd have to pay to Ballard? God knows. No idea. I'd like to think of William Kyle, who played less than 10 minutes a game last year, is not commanding top dollar. But again, who knows? This is all the big mystery, the big secret. But for those freaking out about this, I'll say this. This isn't, pause, rephrase, this better not be the big get in the portal. I think it's a potentially decent enough get if this guy is the third, fourth, fifth best guy you get out of the portal. My eyes are still on, and this is not necessarily anybody specific, I still think the most pressing matter is to get your starting guard next to J.J. Starling. You got J.J., you got Donnie, now you got this Kyle guy. You know about Kaya and Anthony. You know about Sadiq White. We don't know officially about Peter Mastorovich. I still keep presuming he'll be back. I'd be a little nervous if your center tandem was Mastorovich and Kyle. Now you're topped out at 6'9" at that, and Donnie Freeman's probably going to have to play a lot more center than he would prefer. Let's go get one bigger guy. If it's Ballard, if it's somebody else, again, we'll play the center game of just naming centers day in and day out. That's what we do on Portal Launch this time of year. But all that set aside, just because this was the first one to say yes, this isn't and can't and shouldn't and won't, fingers crossed, be the biggest get, most important get, and all of that. If it is, then there's problems. If this is just happened to be order of operations the first, and next week or the week after we learn about some probably big bucks, big stats, big success guard that's in the portal for some reason to come in and play next to J.J. Starling, then you can start shining a good light on this. Mike Waters had a good article this morning highlighting some potential options of players Syracuse can go after in the portal. We'll get into that when we come back, as well as we put a close to our Burdick BMW opening drive here today. Phone lines open next, 315-437-7644. Portal Watch season flies on. Day 5. My, how it does move. Mario coming by in about 15 minutes with a Sacco six-pack. Man who sort of knows later. Tourney thoughts later, and a visit with Darryl Strawberry from earlier today in town for our Yankees event that we had at the Wildcat. All that and more on a Friday. It's Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. Oh, what's up, chat? Yes, Kev, I had plenty of the food. That's my read on it, Philly's Most Wanted. Or I'll put it this way, that better be the read on it. Yeah, Oregon Q's. Hopefully the offense comes with who you're recruiting at guard and wing. You need, with the people you have, with O'Donnell, you need a rim protecting type force in the middle. He's a rim runner guy, CBW. He's a rim runner, lob guy. No pizza, Gavendo. Look at you being healthy. Glad you could come, Prince Odie. Yeah, glad everyone could come out today. That was our winners earlier this week. Good event. That I have no idea on Gavendo. I mean, he can really jump from the very limited highlights I've seen. He is definitely athletic. That'd be fine, Philly's Most Wanted. Jeremy McNeil 1.0 was pretty useful the first time around. This guy's definitely skinnier than Jeremy, but, I mean, he's got hops. I mean, this guy's probably got more hops than anyone that played center on the team not named Donnie Freeman. Does Darryl look really old now? You know, not really, Kev. Like, I mean, he's clearly older. He's 62, I think. But he still looks like Darryl Strawberry. You can confirm, Gavendo. I'm like, yeah, that's Darryl Strawberry. He looks good. He looks really good. Plus, he's got, I mean, shaved head forever, so you don't see any, grays or anything. Yeah, Darryl's great. I had never met him before. Yeah, hopefully, Super Cat, this year when you yell it will be because these people are doing that. Oh, Duke's up 13. That happened quickly. Is North Carolina really not going to hit 40 in a Sweet 16 game? Yeah, I mean, that's what this guy is, and I think that's good. That's a good... that fits into what Red says he wants to have. Now, the fact that he couldn't get on the court for more than 10 minutes at UCLA concerns me. But yes, Kev, Darryl was immediately recognizable as, I'm like, well, that's Darryl Strawberry. I grammed out a picture of me and Darryl and Gomez and Steve. The UCLA guy? No, it just sounded like some vague early season, like nothing big hoops rules, but it sounds like it just put him behind the 8 ball and cracking the rotation. But again, that's just, rando articles after his commitment. That, based on the guys we see them reaching out to, Supercat, and this, I would concur.
all across CNY. It's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
All right, rolling along here on this Friday. Phone lines available, 315-437-7644. Mario, six-pack, 10 minutes out or so. Still watching this. I mean, watching, like, I'm averting my eyes from this Sweet 16 and women's hoops encounter between second seed Duke and third seed North Carolina. It's 47-36 Duke. There's 2 minutes left in the entire game. Carolina may not get to 40. This game has been just disturbingly gross, just how Duke likes it. The Duke women, I mean, they're doing it well, but man, they are just, it is an unpleasing watch when they are playing as they prefer. It is not good basketball to look at, as Kara Lawson is just yelling at people for no reason right now. Anyway, we'll keep our eyes on that. Sweet 16 for the men concludes tonight. Ole Miss, Michigan State, Kentucky, Tennessee, Michigan, Auburn, Purdue, and Houston. That will be on our AM dial tonight. The Crunch and the Comets will be on the FM. All right, so Mike Waters this morning, as I'm sure he'll do and will do time and time again, we will all be looking at the developing possible options. And a lot of it's just tossing names at a wall to see what will stick. But this is how we do Portal Watch. We toss names out and we observe the names, and then we see what we can do. So we assume Syracuse realistically probably needs to bring in 4 or 5 guys to the portal just to fill out the roster. Now, some of them need to be starters. I think at minimum 2 of the guys that come in need to be starters, if not 3, at guard and center, and then potentially at small forward, depending on if Kian or Sadiq White start right out the chute. But you're going to need at minimum 3 legitimate contributors from the portal, and then probably at least a couple more guys to round out the roster. And Mike kind of split this down into the 3 categories of clearly immediate need and desire. Point guard, center, and wing, with Chris Bell being gone and just needing some people to fill out the position. So we'll start with center just because William Kyle came in yesterday. I don't know if the funds or whatever, if he'd want to come here, since twice already he's opted to go elsewhere. But this Quincy Ballard guy, Cuse native, Florida State, seldom used, transferred Wichita State, turned himself into a legitimate near double-double guy with more than 2 blocks a game 5 years in. He's old. He's, 24 years old now, or will be next year. Veteran, defensive presence, bigger than this Kyle guy from UCLA. I don't know, would he come in would he start? How would they share minutes at center? I don't know. But I do know that if you want to have a, ticket up, good basketball team, putting those 2 together, at least the idea of those 2 together at center, that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. Peter Majstorovic, I wouldn't feel great if you're only 2 centers, or big guys would say Majstorovic and this William Kyle. Now you're topping out at 6'8", 6'9" at center, and that's a little squirrely. I don't mind having one guy like that can elite, but you need somebody on the roster with a little size. Ballard 6'11", that would make sense. Another name that Mike Waters just tossed out there as just kind of a different option, some guy named Deshaun Jackson from Iowa State. He's 6'11", 274, so more of a bigger guy. There's a name to keep an eye on. The point guard, lead guard spot is where my main desires and concerns are. Mike Waters tossed out the name Nick Boyd from San Diego State. He's heading into his 6th year. He was on that Florida Atlantic Final Four team a few years ago. It sounds like he's going to be very highly sought after, but that type of guy, that would be a big money investment. A name we told you about yesterday, Darian Ford from Arkansas State, whose numbers we only mentioned because Syracuse was on the Portal Watch Twitter account list of teams that had reached out. But he was 8 points a game. He didn't shoot the 3. He didn't pass the ball. The stats didn't wow me. Again, I've never seen the dude play 1 second of basketball in my life, but that would be very underwhelming, especially if it was anywhere near your starting lineup. Another name that Syracuse was tied to even before the portal opened, and many, many other major programs were tied to, was Jakari White, North Dakota State's point guard. They could get a North Dakota State and a South Dakota State guy. Dominate to the Dakotas. Orange basketball's like all-time undefeated in the Dakotas. men and women. So I think we're on to something here. Dominate the Dakotas. This Sha'Carri White guy, he can legit shoot it, legit big-time player. He feels like, for people worried about mid-major players, he feels like one of the guys that can elevate and step up. Remember the stat we gave the other day? Of the 80 starters that were left in the men's Sweet 16, 50 were transfers, 24 were mid-major transfers up to major conference programs. He would fit that profile. Then on wing, there's a guy named Kobe. Yeah, that'd be good. Get a Kobe. Kobe McGee, Drexel, a 6'6 junior in the portal. 14 points a game, 44% three-point shooter. Yes, sir. Cuse reached out. Less ideal, he's visiting Florida State, Wake Forest, and Seton Hall. Omarion Dickerson, a name we told you about a couple days ago, the Robert Morris transfer, who gave Alabama fits in the first round of the tournament. Not a great shooter, 27%, but, and you talk about fixing an issue from the last couple of years, a.k.a. the defense. You got the Summit League defensive player from 2 years ago. Omarion Dickerson was the Horizon League defensive player from this year. Well, just toss 2 league defensive players of the year on the roster from other leagues. All right, that'd be a pretty good way to get your defense better, one would think. Another name that Mike tossed out there, I saw this name floating around the internet yesterday. The guy's name is Nate Kings. He's changed his last name. I didn't delve into the whole story there, but his last name is Kingz. Kings. And the guy's last name ends with a Z, so I'm already all in here. He's leaving Oregon State. 12 points a game, 44% three-point shooter. We've not seen his name actually tied to Syracuse. That was Mike just proposing a guy that, play style, all that stuff would make sense. So Jordan's typing in, apparently this Nate grew up in foster homes and wants to change his family's legacy. Oh, well, that's what a compelling reason to name himself Kings. I'm all in on this guy. Yeah, let's go get Nate Kings. What a story. But now we're in the name season. I feel good that Syracuse has one in the boat, right? They've pretty much figured out who's gone. One hanging out there. We'll see what our friendly European center does about life. But now they start coming in, and I wonder what the timetable is before we really know on these bigger time portal guys, especially the guards, because I think that's going to be the most important thing here. That is going to be the most important thing that determines Syracuse's success next year. The type of guard that they're able to pull out of the portal to put next to J.J. Starling in the starting lineup. And with that, we'll step aside for a few. We'll reopen the phone lines later. Mario coming up next, the Sacco Six-Pack, and more with Mario Sacco. After this, Q Sports Talk, ESPN Radio.
The Sport.
Yeah, what's that Eagle staff do? You can have an Eagle staff and an Engelstad. Did you, Gavendo? Thank you. Let's go see. Let's go see what... There it is. Photo. There we are. Chilling with Daryl. Oh, man. So it's 5.5. Would I call this center a significant contributor? I would say if he is paired properly with another center, then I think you will have figured out that position on the team. Yeah, Melvin Council from Bonnie went in the portal. Yeah, it was lower before. 5.5. I don't know. I just don't feel great about the Giants right now. Yeah, Daryl, when asked about the 86 team, was just like, it was crazy. They like the white stuff. Yeah, he's like a minister now, or a preacher, or whatever he calls himself. Yeah, I just want, be it a combo or a point, Philly's most wanted. I want the best player at that position that they can get and legit. If it's a combo guard, fine. If it's a point guard, fine. I just get a good freaking guard. Liked it, Ryan. I loved it. That 86 Mets 30 for 30, like that four-parter, is so good. Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do, Randy. Like, if Shadur's there at 3, like, what do they do? Yeah, they were the initial Blowmore Johnsons. He would have given you the same answer given though. The Cowboys had more people. Do I know what he wears? Doesn't he have like an overall?
Okay, so there's like this joke. Just laugh. There's this joke that you're like, what does Mario wear? And you're like, denim, denim, denim. Because like that's the sound it makes, but also he wears overall blue jeans.
Okay.
And I went to like make a joke where it was a joke based off of that, and nobody in the office has apparently heard.
No, I've not heard that.
I thought it was something just like everybody knew. Mario is ready, by the way.
Okay. Have you seen any of those like reels going around where they like redo the levels and it's just like in Mario where they just like they edit it so it's like weird stuff, like it's just like Mario going through with like a machine gun or just crazy, or like different characters going through. It's just crazy.
All across CNY, it's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
Oh, man. Ironic that this song is playing. We'll be playing some clips from this show later. Our guest in hour 2 had one of the more famous guest spots in the history of in the Simpsons. We are, God, we're old. We're 33 years on from Homer at the bat, one of the best Simpsons episodes of all time. With that, let's bring in our guy, Mario Sacco. Mario was hanging with us at our Daryl Strawberry lunch earlier today. I did have to ask him about the Simpsons thing, which I think he got a kick out of that, hopefully.
Daryl's far more important than I am, but I'm glad I'm before him.
Yeah.
I think he got a kick out of it, yeah. I mean, I don't think he tells you, and I'm not going to spoil it, but it didn't think it was going to be as big as it was.
No, I mean, that's going back, like that Simpsons episode with all the stars, like Wade Boggs, and there was all of them doing their actual voices. Wade Boggs, Ken Griffey, all the Clemens, all these guys. It was a massive, massive episode that has stood the test of time. But we'll talk to Daryl about that and other things, I suppose, next hour. But that was a cool event today, Mario. I mean, Daryl, who knows what to think? There's so many larger than life stories about him, good, bad, and otherwise, over the years. I found him to be, at least now, 62 years old, a very nice, grounded guy to talk to.
Yeah, down to earth, and the stories that he told, hitting a home run off Nolan Ryan and what that meant to him at the time. And I kind of figured Barry Bonds was the best that he had seen play, but that just cements of what type of an athlete Barry Bonds was. Like steroids, no steroids, like he was the greatest player that I've seen in my time. And, Ken Griffey Jr. was amazing, but no one can hit a baseball like Barry Bonds.
Yeah, I asked him at one point. It's not in the interview we'll be playing back, but it was in our Q&A there. I asked him, all right, who's the best player you played with and the best you played against? And it was like a no-brainer. I feel it's a no-brainer, right, for a lot of guys from that era. Like, he's like, I don't care about the steroids. Right? The best player I've ever seen is Barry Bonds. And I think that's...
He doesn't care about it because, so many guys were doing it at the time. Like, and that's not an excuse. It's just what it was. And, he mentioned coming up as Pittsburgh, he's as skinny as a rail kid that he just had the quickest wrist that I've ever seen. It was fun to watch and a great event the Galaxy put on. Him telling the story about hitting the dome, hitting the roof in Montreal. The funnier one was him breaking the clock in St. Louis and him telling St. Louis fans still hate him to this day.
I just find it amazing how, and it's not just him, how like high-level pro athletes remember those specifics so vividly. Like, it was like a low fastball, 80 or like 91 and a half miles per hour.
A breaking ball to me, and I hit it 525 feet.
Yeah, it's amazing with that stuff. All right, but that's fun. We'll have our Darryl conversation coming up next hour. We've been talking transfer portal. That's what we do now. That is our life, Mario. What'd you make of this William Kyle signing UCLA and San Diego, South Dakota State, and now here at Syracuse?
Yeah, thank God I refreshed my Twitter feed at about 10:45 last night, or I would have missed it. Do I expect him to, be the star right away? No, but it's promising that the guy was the defensive player of the year, and you've been searching for a rim protector all season, and hopefully maybe he can be that guy, hopefully with another center that you're going to bring in as well. But you can't look at his numbers this year. Like, he went to UCLA, didn't play a lot. But as a guy that, catches the ball in space and dunks it. He had 104 dunks in his 2 years at South Dakota State. And when he was Defensive Player of the Year as a sophomore, averaging, about 14 points a game. Mm-hmm. So, lanky guy, and we'll see. And hopefully it's just the beginning here over these next couple of weeks for Adrian Autry and his staff as they try and hit the transfer portal pretty hard.
Does this year at UCLA concern you? Because I think that's the main thing that we have no way of knowing, right? Like, obviously, whatever circumstances, you got to UCLA and ended up just not fitting in their plans. But does it concern you he stepped up in level and wasn't able to really contribute this year?
Slightly, but he went to UCLA, and UCLA brought in 3 guys and, played 2 of them over him. So hopefully he can make that jump to realizing this is what it takes to play at that level. Is he going to be the last for SU at that position? I don't think so, Brian. And that's what, you have a good start, a good base, so to say, at the center position.
Yeah, if they can get, I say this name just because it's the name we know because he's from here, Quincy Ballard. Or a guy like Quincy Ballard, right? Like, it's unfair. Like, there's literally like 1,500 or however many people in the portal now. Doesn't need to be him. There's plenty of guys out there. But if you get another guy like that, a bigger guy, and now you got those 2, like, that feels like more of a finished product, right, for that position than they're at right now.
Serviceable is kind of the word. Guys that are going to give you, if you can split between 2 guys, the 20 minutes and get you 15 points between them. Like, you want to find a guy that fits the system that Red wants to run. And as good of a back half of the year as Eddie Lampkin had, like, that wasn't the system coming into the year that Autry wanted to run. You need to be better defensively, and hopefully these guys are better on the defensive end. That can lead to the fit that you want come next season. Yeah,
the way I'm looking at it right now is, it seems, last year Lampkin, as good as he was at various points, right? It's what you said he did. It's not what It's not how Red says he wants to play. This William Kyle, I don't know how good he is, but what he did when he did it successfully seems to be exactly what Red says he wants to do.
Yeah, a guy that can get up and down the floor, and a guy that hopefully can protect the rim. And how many times last year did we see a guard get in the lane and be able to pull up and hit the 8-footer or whatever there, because there was no one to protect the rim.
Every single time?
Every from Louisville down to Notre Dame, Burton doing it against them. You can go down the list to Boobie Miller at SMU. So yeah, that's what you want to see. And all season long, you talked about we weren't a team that was able to get out and run in transition. Well, bringing in a guy like this, maybe it helps you a little bit more to do that. But once again, you got to have stops on defense to be able to do that.
Yeah, and that obviously was not a feature of the team last year. Stops on defense. That is something you'd prefer to be a thing at some point. So we'll see how that develops here going forward with who's coming in next in the portal. We got Mario here. We'll get the six-pack going in a little bit. What do you make of this year's tournament so far? Are you enjoying it? It feels just a little off to me. Last night was kind of fun at points, but what do you make of the tourney so far?
You're seeing the cream of the crop rise, like what Cooper Flagg did last night. Caleb Love going against Duke. Like you're seeing the guys shine, and everyone talks about can Flagg have that Carmelo type of run. And Duke looks very good right now. Like they're clicking on all cylinders. Your upsets aren't there like of years past. But I'm enjoying it. Like these teams are good. If you watch Alabama, they don't play a lick of defense.
None.
But they scored 110 points yesterday. Like they're fun to watch. So it's what it is now. You see the big schools have risen. Arkansas choking yesterday, blowing a 16-point lead in 10 minutes and then losing to overtime to Texas Tech. So to me, it's been fun. I think the Elite Eight's going to be really good. Some of the matchups that are coming down the pipe in the Elite Eight, and you got a couple of good ones tonight. Like I think Houston's really good, and how they match up against a big physical Purdue team. Should be a good one tonight.
Arkansas blown that last night. That cost me a good hour of sleep. I mean, come on, Cal. Like, finish that off. We can all go to bed.
So I'm in. I did one bracket this year, and I'm doing actually really, really good. And I had St. John's in that bracket all the way to the national championship game. So I was hoping Arkansas kept winning to kind of cancel things out. But that didn't work. So I'm still about 200 out of 10,000 in the one bracket.
Okay, I actually have Texas Tech in the Final Four, so I'll take that. I'll take that.
There you go. Look at you. Then it helped you out.
I'd say it's my final. No, my Final Four. I had Maryland, so that they lost last night, so it's going to fall. I never do well in the brackets.
Florida's good.
Florida's like really good. I was just trying to be a little different there. They're really, really good.
Yeah, they are. All these SEC teams are good, like really good. So, hence the reason they got 14 of them in.
Yeah, and speaking of the other half of that game last night with Maryland, what do you make of this Kevin Willard thing where, like, he might be out the door to Villanova already? It seems just really peculiar what's going on there.
Yeah, and it's kind of, funny, kind of the same situation of when he left before. And what's, a name that's been thrown around for the Maryland job is Buzz Williams. It's just never ending. Like, why would you leave Texas A&M when the money that they're throwing at you? But, I think he's out the door to Villanova, but that's just me.
Yeah, I don't quite get it. Like, he was complaining about not getting an extra night in New York. Like, I get, Maryland's got Big Ten money coming in. Villanovan's, the Big East is doing really well right now. But
I think you would have more of an opportunity at Maryland to fundraise money than Villanova, but I don't. I get the pedigree of the Villanova program, but Maryland was the same way back in the day, like when they were in the ACC. Like, they had the pedigree as well. I don't know.
Yeah. He was a 4 seed this year. Like, his pedigree was just fine this year. But, man, it's hard to figure. The portal, the money, the whole thing, it's affecting everybody right now for sure. All right, what else we got going on? We got Lax tomorrow. Q sitting down.
Big games for SU men and women tomorrow.
Yeah, Q's Virginia. I don't care that Virginia's not ranked. Like, it's Q's Virginia. Like, that, I don't need to know anything else going into this game.
Yeah, it's Lars Tiffany, and anytime these two teams play, 43rd all-time meeting, and they've each won 21, and they're separated by 1 goal. That's all you have to know. That come the fourth quarter, about 5 minutes left, probably going to be a goal or two game between these two. And can Syracuse, pick up where they've left off after dropping the game to Harvard? They've rattled off 4 straight wins and have looked pretty good. At times, at times they look outstanding, and then you're like, what happened? They let Colgate back in the game last weekend and pulled out the win. But keep your foot on the gas, and that's what Gary's been preaching. And he said yesterday in a sound that I just played, like, this is what you play for. You got 5 games left, 4 of them against ranked teams in Virginia. So, you're going to find out where you stand here pretty quickly over these next couple of weeks.
Yeah, you've got it's the ACC left, all 4 of them.
And then the number 1 ranked team in the country.
And number 1 Cornell. And besides that, that's just it. That's your last 5 games of the.
DJ Kirst only scored 9 goals last game, 6 of them in the first half.
He's really good. He's really good. Cornell's superstar, the current, I'd say, odds-on favorite to win the Tour this year.
If he doesn't win the Tour, then I don't know who you give it to.
Great. Spallina had 11 points last game. Who cares? Kirst has been unbelievable this year. Just unbelievable. Unguardable. All right. Anything else before we fire up the 6-pack here?
I don't have anything. High school sports, congratulations to the Marcellus boys on winning a state title last week. Their first in program history. And also shout out to Liverpool girls making it all the way to the state championship again and coming up just short. But Mike Wheeler's created a heck of a program over there, and they were very good and fun to watch all year. So best of luck in the future to those girls. But Marcellus, I told you at the beginning of the year they were good, and they capped it off with a state title.
There we go. The local state champs for Marcellus on the boys' side of things. All right, let's get it going with the 6-pack.
It's time for Mario to make you money.
Your money? You know what else? You're a big winner.
Or maybe not.
And it's gone. Money!
Here's the Sacco 6-pack.
All right, I got you down for 3-3 last week. I think it's 2 or 3 weeks in a row here.
Yeah, it's 3 straight weeks I've been 3-3. I started out slow too. I think I was 0-2 to start, but rallied late. Let's go 3 women's games and 3 men's games for you.
All right.
3 men's games tonight. Give me Michigan State -3.5 versus Ole Miss. I think Michigan State's really good. Kentucky, Tennessee. This one should be a good one, and I think a lot of points are hopefully going to be scored, so I'm taking the over of 144.5. Give me the over of Kentucky, Tennessee at 144.5. And Michigan is getting 9.5 against Auburn. Give me Michigan plus 9.5 against Auburn. I think Auburn still wins the basketball game, but hopefully the Big Ten champs can keep that one close. In women's hoops, a lot of big lines in the Sweet 16. Games are actually going on right now. I think Duke's beating North Carolina.
Yeah, they just wrapped it up.
In one of the Sweet 16s. Give me UCLA, the top seed, -8.5 versus Ole Miss. Sorry, Ole Miss, I don't like either one of your teams tonight. TCU is the 2 seed, right?
Yes, they are the 2 seed.
Notre Dame's the 3 seed.
Notre Dame those are factual statements.
By 7.5 in that game.
Yep. In the women's bracket I got Notre Dame in the Final Four. Yeah, Notre Dame at their peak is better.
I'm going to take TCU, though.
All right, yeah. 7.5, that's a lot of number for a 2 seed.
I was like, watch them lose by 16. I got TCU plus 7.5. And here's the big one for you in point spread land. Maryland's 17.5-point dogs to South Carolina. South Carolina can win by 50, but hopefully Maryland keeps it close. Give me Maryland plus 17.5. Okay. UConn was like 15.5-point favorites as well. So
yeah, UConn, and USC with their best player out. UConn's looking in good shape right now to get back to the Final Four.
I was tempted to take USC still tonight. They're I think a 1-point favorite.
Yeah,
Kansas State.
No, I wouldn't be surprised if they win tonight. I just don't see how they. I don't see how you beat UConn in the Elite Eight without your best.
Depending on how
player.
The picks go, throw some lunch money on USC tonight.
Okay, TCU riding with Haley Van Lith, the former star for Louisville.
She's been unbelievable lately.
Yeah, she's
been unbelievable all year.
Yeah, she had a weird year at LSU last year, but has bounced back nicely here at TCU. All right, there we are. 6-pack. Enjoy the weekend, buddy.
Thanks, Mike. Take care.
There he is, Mario Sacco with the 6-pack here in this hour, brought to you by William Matar. With that, we'll step aside for a few. Phone lines open rest of the way. 315-437-7644. We'll check in with Darryl Strawberry, who we caught up with earlier today. Next hour, immediately next, the man who sort of knows. All that when we come back, and more on a Friday. It's Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. Like Maryland was broke like a decade ago. Then they got unbroke when they joined the Big Ten. So, yeah, I guess they're broke again. I don't know. What are the odds Deion's there to coach all 5 years of that? Well, the South Carolina game Mario picked is starting in 10 minutes, so all bets to the window. All bets to the window. Oh, is Duke going to get worked by South Carolina on Sunday? I see. $17 baths. It's a lot of bathrooms. Why do they have so many bathrooms? Actually feels almost cheap for all those baths. Yeah. I mean, when you can get $1 million a bathroom, you got to do it. It's $1 billion a bathroom and $1 million per tenth an acre. Seems perfectly reasonable. How many million is it per murder? Maybe some of the bathrooms are directly pool related. That would explain it. Gambino Mansion for sale. I want some pics. Well, look at that entranceway. That's something. Well, look at the gardens. Those are gardens. Look at the balconies. Plural. Look at this kitchen. Chandeliers. They have a billiards room. Is that a crazy chess set? What the hell is that? God, they need to redecorate, though. What is going on in here? This is decorated like somebody went on a trip to Versailles and then, like, passed through Vegas and then tripped through 1982. Yeah, that's a garage, all right. Where is that? Is this on Long Island? What am I looking at? Staten Island. Is this on Staten Island?
Here's Brian Higgins.
All right, rolling along here on this Friday. We'll get to the man who sort of knows momentarily. Phone lines open and available. 315-437-7644. Let's go to line one. Scooter, what's up, Scoot?
I love the bumper music there, Brian. Good music.
You've called it just the right decade for you here, Scooter, so we're all good.
Hey, you know, if you play Billy Joe's, we didn't start the fire. You played the first 20 seconds. He actually does a shout out to me. You know that, right?
And we didn't start the fire?
We didn't start the fire. He played the first 20 seconds, and Billy did a shout out for me.
I'm blanking on what the exact beginning is, Scooter, to remember what the shout out is to you.
Well, they're doing names. If you remember at the beginning.
Okay.
I'm thinking right after Joe DiMaggio, I think.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have to do some research on that and get back to you.
Great games last night. The way that the games we played, a lot of good popcorn games, and I don't know if you noticed it. The ones in Jersey obviously are higher scoring than the ones on the West Coast, but the rims are pretty tight for an NBA arena. I don't know if you had the sound up every time at one end. I know they had the field mic on the rim, but every time one end they were shooting, it sounded like a grenade going off when they hit the rim.
I said I think people have also been talking about the ball has been extra bouncy too, so I'm sure that is combining with it.
Well, I thought they're playing in Virginia. You know, they skip rocks against those rims. You notice since Tony Bennett left, they loosened the rims a little bit. And so they're going to get transfer portal people there because that is the worst shooting gym. I would never go there until they loosen the rims. I don't think it's any coincidence that they always led the league in defense.
Yeah,
because they couldn't shoot there.
Well, it's like the natural grass fields where you grow your grass longer if you're trying to slow down the other teams, right?
Exactly. But a couple things I called about because we're looking at the Derby Trail and. Your horse journalism doesn't run into the Santa Anita Derby next week, but there's two big races, and one in particular, the Arkansas Derby, which can be on Fox 2 or Fox 1 between 7:30 and 8 o'clock in their FanDuel. But Bob Baffert's got a horse called Kofi Kopian that he's almost running like the horse called Justify. I don't remember the horse from maybe 10 years ago in the Triple Crown where he ran one race, didn't qualify until the Santa Anita Derby. He's doing the same motion. This horse is off a 6 furlong maiden race, and now they're stretching out. And if he doesn't basically come in the top 3, he's probably not going to the Derby because you got to qualify now. They got points system. It's 100 points for the winner. I believe 50 for the second. So he's got to get in the top 3. So he's got to run them hard. Problem is, it's a bad post. It's a 9 on this track at Oakland. It's not conducive. It's going to rain a little bit. But bottom line is, if he somehow overcomes all this, then next week journalism and another Bob Baffert horse called Citizen Bull. Those 3 will be probably your favorites in the Derby and the Derby Trail. But everybody's looking at this horse because he hasn't run against anybody. It's against the stakes, and I'm hearing he's a monster. And Baffert's the only guy I know that can take a horse and not work the horse, not run the horse, and all of a sudden he's getting 100% productivity. So something to keep an eye on.
Okay.
During probably the time out of the first couple of games. But
I still got to ride with journalism, though, Scooter. I got to stick with that first horse you gave me.
No, journalism was amazing, and we're going to find out because Baffert's other big gun is Citizen Bull, and they both haven't run since their races and since last time we talked, and they're going against each other in the Santa Anita Derby. It should be a match race, and if journalism beats Citizen Bull, man, and like I said, you got to keep an eye on this horse because no one knows if he's good or bad because he's only run once. And normally about this time, especially if you're – and Justify did the same thing. He didn't run as a 2-year-old, and they said, you can't win the Derby. You don't run as a 2-year-old. Well, this horse here just broke his maiden as a 3-year-old. So he's doing the same thing as Justify so that people are just keeping an eye on him. But journalism right now, because I've seen him and I've seen visually him and I saw what he did on a track, he usually don't – do what he does. He had to come from behind against a loose Bob Baffert horse. You're right. He's right now our horse, but we got to keep an eye on tomorrow. And then tonight's games, it could be more plotters. I think, I'm hoping the Kentucky-Tennessee game is going to be good. Michigan State and Mississippi, that's going to be the interesting one because Mississippi State, it looks like they were on a roll, and Michigan State, I'm not sure about the 3-point shooting, just like St. John's. They're up and down, but we'll see. I'm looking forward to Florida. It looks like Duke would meet in the semis, right? They can't meet in the finals, I believe.
No, Florida-Duke would be a title game. Florida and Duke are on the opposite side of the bracket.
That reminds me of the Kentucky Massachusetts when '96. Remember when Syracuse played Kentucky? Everybody thought Massachusetts and Kentucky was the championship game because Mass killed Syracuse that year, and of course Kentucky was Kentucky. So my gut feeling's the same thing. That semi game might be the one people are going to be watching more than the finals. Yeah. We'll see. Well, they keep an eye on stuff. So, but yeah, if you get shot, play the first 20 seconds of Billy Joel.
Okay. Well, we'll see if Scooter. I don't recall Scooter being in the lyrics, but Joe DiMaggio, Joe McCarthy. There's some guys. There's some guys in there. Scoot. Well, okay. All right.
I helped them out with some tambourine arrangement, so you give me a shout out.
Okay, there we go. The tambourine always comes up. Thank you, Scoot. There he is. Scooter in Jamesville. He and Billy Joel. Tight like that. Who knew? All right, with that, we'll take a break. Hour 2 next. Man Who Sorta Knows. Sweet 16 thoughts. There's a player I just found out Syracuse reached out to that's already gone somewhere else. Wow, it's an active few minutes in Portal Watch. All that in hour 2. And your calls. 315-437-7644. Back after this. Q Sports Talk, ESPN Radio. I always enjoy Reggie and Cheryl talking about that day, Ryan, because I guess Reggie had a game the same day where he scored like 40-something, and he was so happy about himself, and then found out that Cheryl scored 105. We're too late for your guy, Rob Cuse. Too late. He's already picked St. John's. I think. Unless this guy's not correct. Is this a real person? Well, there's an account on here that says he's going to St. John's, but I don't know if that's real. Like this. Yeah, that might not have been a real account saying you'd already committed to St. John's. Unless you're to believe we got a center, CJC. Shouldn't you be working? Aren't you finishing your quarter? Is your quarter done now because it's 5 o'clock? Yeah, that Cheryl Miller could play some ball. William Kyle III, most recently of UCLA, formerly of South Dakota State. He was a delight, CJC. You'll be hearing from him shortly.
ESPN 97.7 and 100.1. Watch live on QSportsTalk.com.
Can we review our status here, Si? Let's look at this thing from a standpoint of status.
Can't go backwards. Can't go forward. What am I gonna do?
Hey, what happened?
Lisa, if you don't like your job, you don't strike. You just go in every day and do it really half-assed. That's the American way.
I hope it's happy hour.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
This is a great day. A really great day.
All across CNY, it's the 315 with Brian Higgins. Halfway home, we drive into the second hour with Verdict BMW.
That we do. Hour 2 is afoot. Portal Watch Day 5. We've gotten into that. Syracuse has acquired its first player as of late last night, William Kyle III. Most recently of UCLA. Prior to that, a Conference Defensive Player of the Year at South Dakota State. We've talked to Mario, got the six-pack, and we've cracked open the phone lines for your calls at 315-437-7644. Still to come here this hour. Man who sort of knows. A chat from earlier today with Daryl Strawberry. We had a great event with Daryl earlier and our Yankees clients and sponsors out at the Wildcat. So we'll bring you a little bit of that coming up in just a few minutes. But as we dive into hour 2, we might have a very open and closed part of the Portal Watch. We just heard about this name. I guess he was in the portal yesterday. His name is Silas DeMary Jr., a 13-point-a-game scorer guard from Georgia. Name in the portal yesterday. Listen to this list that has reached out to him already. NC State, Providence, Florida, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Seton Hall, Connecticut, Duke, Houston. So that's 3 of the 4 1 seeds in the tournament. Oh, Auburn's on there too. It's all of the 1 seeds in the tournament. Baylor, Creighton, Kentucky, Oklahoma, BYU, Syracuse, Texas Tech, Gonzaga, St. John's, North Carolina, Miami, Auburn, and Virginia, among others, have reached out to this guy. But there's already trickling reports out there. Like I think Rick Pitino's just lurking. So some guy that I think is just some guy is reporting he's already signed with St. John's, but that's just some guy. But we talk about St. John's and their big pockets in NIL, maybe opening up yawning wide again for this guy. But this would fit into the lead guard package guy that we're talking about to go alongside of J.J. Starling in the backcourt this year. So that is something that bears watching going forward. We're watching a little women's hoops right now. We watched a just gross game earlier. Nobody got to 50. I don't even know if Carolina got to 40 in the end. I lost track of the final score, but Duke just got a sat on North Carolina and has advanced to the Elite Eight. First women's team to get through. Currently in Birmingham, it is South Carolina 10 and Maryland 8. Winner of this game gets to face Duke on Sunday. Mario in the six-pack moments ago picked Maryland to cover a very large number of 17 and a half. So that kind of gets us squared away on the women's games. Men's games tonight, man. Last night, you could start the games just a little earlier. I understand. I said this yesterday. I understand why the CBS game starts just past 7 o'clock. I get it. Can the TBS game, just a hint, thought, help us all out here a little bit? Can the first TBS game start at 6:40 instead of 7:40? So the second one's not ending at 12:45 in the freaking morning that I had to keep watching because it was fantastic? What an ending to the game that was, Arkansas and Texas Tech. I was getting beyond annoyed about it. End of regulation. Monitor. We've adjusted the clock by 1/100th of a second. Monitor. But the end of overtime, man, there was like 3 or 4 possessions in a row right at the end. No timeouts, no reviews, no free throws, back and forth, big shots, lead changing. Fantastic basketball game. Texas Tech rallying from 16 down. I believe they said it was the second largest deficit overcome in the history of the Sweet 16. 16 down. What was the other one? Was the other one that UCLA comeback against Adam Morrison and Gonzaga? They never said what the other one was. That game is top of mind from a handful of years ago. But, man, fantastic game last night. Duke scored 1 million points through. Alabama scored 1,010,000 points. They're through. They'll play each other on Saturday. And, just fantastic games last night. Florida pulled away from Maryland over the course of the last 10 minutes of the game as they looked fantastic late. Florida and Texas Tech will play for a spot in the Final Four on Saturday. And, again, I get it. TV, Duke, prime time and all. We'll make this make sense one of these days. The game in Newark, New Jersey tomorrow, Duke playing to get to the Final Four against Alabama. That game starts at 8:47. The 6:07 or whatever time it is game in San Francisco is the Texas Tech game against Florida. The West Coast game is starting. Make it make sense to me. Make it make sense to me. Can we just understand how time works? Anybody, anywhere. Don't get it. All right. With that, those games to happen, maybe they'll come up here as we get the rest of our picks from the week.
Could we have the money now?
I'm telling you, it's a lock.
What if there was a restaurant that didn't serve any food and just served up gambling?
Father was a mutter. His mother was a mutter.
I thought gambling was illegal.
Not if no one sees you do it.
Guaranteed bets.
The man is a gambler.
Results not guaranteed.
Pay that man his money.
It's the man who sort of knows.
All right, here's what the man who sort of knows thinks he knows. This week, 3-2 last week across the opening round of the NCAA tournament. We focus on the men's and women's tournament with just a dash of the National Basketball Association sprinkled in. Let's start in the NBA. That game is tonight. The New York Knickerbockers are taking on the Milwaukee Bucks. Campaign Jalen Brunson remain out for the Knicks. Means Tyler Kolek, formerly of Marquette, is playing a ton of minutes at the point guard spot. His total for assists tonight is set at 6.5. Last 3 games with those two out, he's had 7, he's had 8, and he's had 9. All of those numbers are more than 6.5. Take Kolek over his assist total tonight. Knicks against the Bucks. All right, tonight in the Sweet 16, we'll start with Michigan State, a 3.5-point favorite over Ole Miss. The Spartans have covered in 10 of their last 11 games, and they are bigger than Mississippi basically at every position on the basketball court. Sparty is rolling. Take Izzo into the Elite Eight, covering the 3.5 against Ole Miss. Tennessee and Kentucky. Mario has this game going over the combined 144.5. Speaking of high-scoring games, I just looked this up. Since they both scored 100 yesterday, the Alabama-Duke game tomorrow, the point total in that is 173.5, and somehow that feels low. But Tennessee and Kentucky tonight. The Volunteers a 4.5-point favorite against Kentucky. Kentucky has beaten Tennessee twice this season. The Wildcats, though, are a bit dinged up. Tennessee's been looking good. What's the old adage? It's hard to beat a team 3 times. I don't really quite actually buy into that, but we'll roll in with it tonight. Tennessee covering the 4.5 against Kentucky, so says the man who sort of knows. Women's college basketball, one late night tonight, one of them tomorrow, both involving number 1 seeds. The number 1 overall seed in the women's basketball tournament is UCLA. They're an 8.5-point favorite against Ole Miss tomorrow. Mario was on this, so is the man who sort of knows. Kind of the same reason the man who sort of knows is on Michigan State. UCLA is way bigger and way more talented than Ole Miss. They're the number 1 overall seed for a reason. They cover the 8.5 late night tonight. That is a 10 p.m. tip-off. Tomorrow, Texas, the final number 1 seed on the women's tournament, is a 7.5-point favorite against Tennessee tomorrow. If Tennessee wins, it would be their first Elite Eight. Little local history going back to 2016 when they lost to Syracuse. Where? In South Dakota. Told you the Dakotas would be back today. Tennessee's not making it back to the Elite Eight, though, this year. Texas already beat them once earlier in the season. Close game by 4, but Texas has looked great so far in this tournament. They cover the 7.5 tomorrow against Tennessee. To recap, Tyler Kolek over his assist total tonight. Men's college basketball in the Sweet 16. Michigan State covers 3.5. Tennessee covers 4.5. Women's Sweet 16 tonight. UCLA covers 8.5. Tomorrow, Texas covers 7.5. And that, my friends, is what the man that sort of knows thinks he knows this week. With that, we will step aside for a few. When we come back, I caught up with Darryl Strawberry at our event earlier today at the Wildcat. We'll play that back for you next here on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. That is indeed where Q is. His second ever Sweet 16. They did do that, 315. Always, Tim. I've never actually been to Stingers, Homer. It's just slightly annoyingly far away. I've heard it's good. I've heard it's very Trappers-y and Wildcat-y. We looked at a house near there once when we were house looking years ago. It was a very nice house, but it had a very peculiar, like its backyard was like in the next door neighbor's front yard. It was the weirdest angle. Like it was just unsettling.
All across CNY, it's the 315. Here's Brian Higgins.
All right, rolling along here on this fine Friday all across CNY. Glad to have you here. Phone lines available if you'd like. 315-437-7644. A lot of portal talk today. William Kyle III, the newest member of the Syracuse Orange. We'll see who and when is next in line when we next watch the portal on day 8 on Monday. Though vigilance, always vigilance. We'll be watching all weekend. We just won't be on the radio. So full social media vigilance for Portal Watch 2025 over the weekend. With that, we move along here. Told you about our event. We had 4 winners from Q Sports Talk that were there earlier today that won our Subscriber Mondays the last few weeks. They got to come out and see our Daryl Strawberry Q&A. A cool event at the Wildcat. Dan, gracious host as always, and myself, Steve, and Gomez. We got a chance to chat with Daryl and took questions from the audience, and everyone got a picture, and the whole thing was a fantastic event earlier today around our Yankees season stuff, where we got all the games over on TK, and of course Yankees on deck, back for another year here on ESPN Radio, both in Syracuse and in Utica and Rome. But right before the event, I got a chance to catch up with Daryl exclusively for us, for all of us here, for a few minutes. So the first thing I asked him is, all right, back in the Q's. He's been here before. What's Daryl think of his time here in Syracuse?
It's good to be back. Syracuse has been a fun place. I've been up here a few times. I did the Salvation Army event here, and I've been up here with the Syracuse Mets before. So it's nice. I mean, every time I've been up here, the weather's been a little rainy, a little gloomy and stuff, but
we got to invite you back midsummer. I promise you it clears up here at some point. And, we have you up here today for a Yankees event, Daryl. Obviously, you remembered Yankees, Mets both ways. What's it like for you to be so associated with those 2 New York City teams?
It's great. I mean, New York is a phenomenal place. And when you play there and have an opportunity to win there, people will always remember you. I think that's the most important thing as players learn to play there. The fans are very passionate about their teams, their players, and as a player, you got to be very passionate about running on the field and being able to perform in front of those kind of people.
I'm just so intrigued by the idea. I mean, the Yankees' history is in such a way, and the Mets are such the counter, the opposite franchise. How different was it playing for those 2 teams for you?
Well, it's 2 different franchises. The Yankees is a machine, machine to win, and the Mets are a franchise that's struggled a long time. They got 2 championships, and the Yankees got about 27. So that just goes to tell you there's a big separation there, and there's no comparison to what they are for the city of New York. But the Mets are turning the corner. The Yankees are always going to be the Yankees, no matter how you look at baseball and what do you think. They're going to always be that team that's going to be on the field that you want to be.
What's it like you were there obviously when it was cooking, right? Like to have those expectations every year and to meet them basically every year. What was that like to go into those seasons knowing that there was one goal, and if you didn't do it, it was a disappointment?
Well, it was pretty easy for us because we became good at what we were doing, and you had a good group of guys that really took pride in what they were doing and having fun. Yeah. I think the most important thing a lot of times with players, they don't have fun. They put pressure on themselves, and we did in those years. We expected ourselves to be good every season, and when we fell short, well, we didn't feel good about ourselves, and that was a good thing about being over there playing with the Yankees. Guys took pride in wearing the pinstripes, took pride in being successful. George was the owner, and he was alive and well, and he was cooking at the time, and he was all about winning. It's a different time now. They're not like the father was. He was determined to put a team on the field that was going to be successful. Do they want to be successful? Yes, of course they do. But I don't think they are like the boss was. Yeah, he had a different personality, and whatever he needed to do to get his team in the right place and a position to win, he did it.
All right, give us a George story. Give us a George Steinbrenner story. What's your best one you got in the holster, Daryl?
He's a great guy. He loved his players. He cherished his players more than anything. You don't find many owners that are in sports like that really believe in their players and care about his players, care about the families. He was just a family guy, and he was very special to a lot of players.
We got Darryl Strawberry here in town for our Yankees event here today. I want to ask you about Juan Soto. Yankees last year going to the Mets. You obviously played for both. What do you think that's going to be like for him this season going across town?
It'll be fine. He's a professional, and I think people just have to relax. They're going by one game or what happened in one game. He's going to be all right. He knows how to do it. The thing I like about him is he plays every day. He's not injured. He's not, sitting out on the sideline or anything, with a tweak here, a tweak there, and that could easily happen, to anybody, but it doesn't happen, for him. So if you look at his numbers and his seasons that he go out and do, he's pretty much on the field, 150 ball games. If you can play 150 ball games a year, you're doing pretty good, because at the major league level, it's tough to do that and stay healthy and avoid injuries.
When you look at the game today, Darryl, from the game you played, how different is baseball today? You talk, the 3 true outcomes, the pitch clock, all this stuff. What do you look at from today that you're like, I like what they've done? What do you look at today that you're like, I don't quite like this as much?
It doesn't matter what I think. It's what it is. Things have changed. Of course, the pitch clock is different. Of course, you can't break up a double play. You can't run over the catcher. Back in our days, you can do all that. That's the toughness of the game. So I think the reality of who they are today, they are who they are, and we must respect that. As a former player, I respect, what the players' game is all about and what they have to go through and the analytics and all the different things that they use for baseball. That's theirs. We didn't have that when I played, so it's just different.
All right, before I let you go, I got to ask you this. What are you asked about more, 86 series or the Simpsons episode?
Definitely the Simpsons episode. So many people love it. They remind me everywhere I go about the Simpsons episode. So.
Did you have any idea that was going to happen when you did that? I mean, that's more than 30 years ago. You must get that every day.
I had no idea that would be more popular than, me being a baseball player.
Go figure. You play 17 years, and it's the cartoon that they remember.
I know, right?
All right, Dale, really appreciate the time today.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
All right, Darryl Strawberry from our event earlier today at the Wildcat. And go figure. 17 years in the league, 4 World Series, 8-time All-Star, and people really like to talk to him about this.
You're Darryl Strawberry.
Yes.
You play right field.
Yes.
I play right field, too.
So?
Well, are you better than me?
Well, I never met you, but yes.
What a homer at the bat. An all-time great episode of the Simpsons.
Yes, thanks, Strawberry. We want home run homers. Darryl.
Children, that's not very nice.
Mom, they're professional athletes. They're used to this sort of thing. It rolls right off their backs.
A single cheer from cartoon Darryl Strawberry. That was season 3. That episode was, this is how long The Simpsons has been on. That was season 3. That episode was 33 years ago. Darryl Strawberry, the one guy on the power plant softball team that didn't have some horrible accident befall him. No giganticism like Ken Griffey Jr. He didn't fall into the forbidden spot of Springfield like Ozzie Smith. He didn't get hypnotized and turn into a chicken like Roger Clemens. He didn't get into a fight with Barney at the bar about prime ministers of England like Wade Boggs. Like, so many things. He didn't get harassed and pulled over by the cops like Steve Sachs. So many terrible things happened to. He didn't have his sideburns shaved off like Don Mattingly. It was a calamity of errors. But then go figure, Homer ends up subbing in and winning the game late. Great episode of TV. But Darryl was outstanding today. Very humble. He's a minister, a pastor, or whatever he was calling himself. But he's out there amongst the people. He's doing good in the world. Very down to earth, and really enjoyed chatting with him today. So that was a pretty cool event out at with our friends at the Wildcat earlier on today. All right, let's hit a break here. 315-437-7644. And we'll get into the 411 after this on this hour. Brought to you by DVOffers.com, which is powered by Drivers Village in Cicero. Back next on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Radio. No, I don't know if I appreciate that, Gaber. Thus is the magic of it all. I did not ask him that, Kev. I would assume so. Like, if the episode airs, he's got to get some kind of, like, tiny residual, I would think. He probably gets a few pennies. Or now you get residuals, like if it gets streamed and stuff, depending. Look, it's Mike. Congratulations to you. What a moment.
Gotta add that.
What a moment in beverage history.
Oh,
Mike has found his mostly drank Gatorade. I almost appreciate that more, Gavendo. They're just slinging snacks. Not being forced out there to pay for Little League nonsense with candy bars or something. What was their price? What were their prices? Were they reasonable? Or were they slinging?
Were they reasonable?
I don't know.
Candy.
I understood.
You call it Reese's Pieces or Reese's Pieces?
Reese's Pieces.
Okay, good. Because there's just like a annoyingly high percentage of people that call it Reese's Pieces. And having conversations with them is infuriating because, like, it always goes the same way. You're like, it's Reese's Pieces, right? And they're like, no, it's not. And I'm like, it's not? And they're like, no, it's Reese's. I'm like, well, we've all heard the Reese's Puff commercial, have we not?
You were just talking to Jordan, weren't you, about this out there?
No, it just came up in my head.
He's on the other side of the argument.
Oh, what is he saying?
Oh, you're not? Was I reading it backwards? You were agreeing with us?
Oh, man.
Okay.
That's why Jordan and I are tight. You want to know why? Because Kobe. That felt good.
If the rim had been straight, it might have gone in.
Really?
It hit the side of the rim, but the high side.
Yeah.
So it would have had a shot.
I can't believe that thing hasn't broken apart yet.
Well.
I want to know what happened to make
two of
both.
them.
Yeah.
I think it's been at least 2 years where I'm like, I could bring in some bolts and fix that.
It's been like that since I've started working here.
Yeah, no, but I've said for like years now.
Yeah,
like, I'm sure I got stuff to fix that. I'm never going to bring in anything to fix it, but I'm sure I have it.
I feel like you'd have to trim off the bolt or find a really short one.
I don't know. I got a lot. My garage has a lot of random. If you don't have a lot of random nuts and bolts and screws and whatnot in your garage, what's the point of having a garage?
Yeah.
I got bags of weird crap.
What constitutes a garage? We've talked about this, I think.
What constitutes a garage?
Yeah, what makes it a garage?
The fact that it's a garage.
That doesn't mean anything to me.
How does that not mean anything to you?
What makes it a garage? What about it makes it? Because there's other garages that are very different than car garages in the homes. So what constitutes a garage? Because some people don't even use their garages for cars.
It's still a garage.
How though? You know?
Here's Brian Higgins.
All right, for those not with us on Q Sports Talk, Mike and I are having yet another one of our highly baffling conversations. I don't even know what to do with it. I don't know what to do with what just happened.
I'm just saying, there's nothing that makes something a garage other than the fact that people call it a garage.
There's nothing that makes it a garage other than the fact that it is a garage.
But what makes it a garage? You can't say the garage door because there's car park buildings that are considered garages that don't even have any doors.
Well, I mean, there are regulations about the kind of doors and walls you have to have between a garage and the inside of your house.
Is there?
Yeah, so things don't catch on fire and burn down.
I have had this conversation with a weirdly large amount of of people. You are the first person to ever say that.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed how the door from your garage into your house is metal?
Are they all metal? I mean, I guess in my experience, mine have been.
It's not an experience. It's the law.
That's just the law. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and the walls have like fireproof barriers in it.
So the door, not the garage door, but the door to enter.
Well,
is
yeah,
what
the goal is to keep the
garage.
fire out of the house, not out of the driveway.
If you have a fire in your driveway, you got some stuff going on. Because like
It's better than a fire in your house?
Yeah, that's true.
Well, because the car, which would be in the garage, the worry is the car being on fire or something. And then it burning your house down.
So what you're saying is we should just never park in garages again.
No, I'm saying
your
they
car
have
might catch on fire.
Well, it has nothing to do with the garage. I'm saying there's specific laws in place so you don't burn down the rest of your house.
That's interesting.
All right, I'll let you talk again in a second because we're going to go to the phones. Oh my God. Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
It's always a pleasure. We'll get back to Mike in a second. All right, let's go to the phones. We have Kathy in Rome. Hey, Kathy, what's going on?
Good morning. I should say good afternoon, gentlemen. It's been a long day. I have to tell you, this past Wednesday was my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And every year I keep saying I want Michigan State to win the championship. I think this is an ideal year since it's been 25 years. So I'm going to stick with them, and I think they're going to keep on trucking, and they may have problems. They always seem to have to run into Duke every year. But I'm going to say they're going to have a miracle. The spunky little guys, they're going to pull all the wins, and they're going to take the championship home to East Lansing for Izzo.
Okay, there we go, Kathy. And if they run into Duke, I've got good news. You'll be in the title game because that's when that would happen. So things will be going well for the next couple weeks if they make it to Duke down the line.
Say, go green, go white.
There we go. All right, Kathy.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
You as well. Kathy in Rome, rooting for the Spartans. The one problem with that here on ESPN in Syracuse and Utica in Rome is that when those Flintstone teams won the title back in 2000, that Syracuse in the Sweet 16 in a game played in frickin' Detroit, how was that legal? Had a double-digit lead on them, and then things went hilariously and comically wrong for about the next 10 minutes. Oh, God, I forget what Syracuse lost by. They lost by like 15. That game had a shocking turnaround with it. All right.
Happy birthday, Kathy.
Yeah, happy birthday, Kathy. Go Sparty, I guess, yeah. I mean, she seemed nice enough. I suppose I'll root for her team.
She did seem very nice.
Like, she seemed, I mean, that... We don't oft get Michigan State fans calling, so there we go. All right, time now for I need the right mouse here to move along to the 411, brought to you by Superior Plus Propane.
Here's the 411.
Hello, and welcome to Movie Phone.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
In the 315.
So you're going to be doing that all week, right?
Nah.
I'm glad we've separated our garage talk from the 411 just for the sake of our friends at Superior Plus Propane. I don't know if they wanted any part of our garage conversation.
Well, they might actually have a lot of info on
Actually, they might. They would be like, yes, Brian, you're very wise. Especially people that, make it like to toss their grills into the garage in the winter, perhaps.
You know what's something, now that we talk about that's always bothered me? Why do people put their not everybody obviously, but why does a large amount of people put their propane tanks directly next to their house or a building? I've never understood that.
Like the portable ones for grills or ones that are attached to their house, like the big ones?
Well, the big ones, but when you get them installed, you can choose where to put them. Like I'm talking the big ones that like you get filled like once a month or once every 2 months.
Well, where else did you put it?
Well, I mean, my dad, when he built his house, he put his probably about like, I'd say 60 to 100 feet away from the house.
All right. I'd say that's probably wise for one reason, but also you now have to run 60 to 100 feet of pipes and stuff out there.
Easy. You can throw
okay, well, I'd say
we're water operators in the Papa family.
Yeah, I'm aware of what you are, but I'd say most people are not because you have all the jobs.
That's why.
Yeah. So they need less piping.
Wow.
Yeah.
Speaking of, everybody in Pulaski and Richland, you can get your water stuff changed around with the new laws going into effect.
Okay, get your water stuff
So
done.
if you live 40 minutes away from where we are right now.
That was the least specific. Hey, Pulaski, fix your water stuff. Laws.
Yep.
I don't even know what to tell them to do. Do the water stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know. They don't know. Doesn't sound like you know.
So more exciting. Not entirely. I no longer practice the water operator.
But you don't stay apprised?
Yeah, so I'm not up to date with all the new laws that are going on, but I do know in Pulaski.
This is a Pulaski specific water stuff law?
Well, more Richland, but Pulaski is a village of Richland.
Okay.
But yeah, Richland.
So this doesn't affect me?
And you can do it for free. The town and the village will pay for it.
Woo!
But you have to buy it. They will just put it in.
That's not paying for it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're paying for it, but they're doing it for free. Listen, I
don't think you know what paying for it means.
Well, I mean, you're not paying for it to happen.
You still don't know what it is.
I truly don't.
Okay.
I know a little bit about it.
Man.
It's one specific thing that's got to be changed. All right.
Things are going well.
You know what doesn't have to be changed? Colorado. Colorado's head football coach, Deion Sanders, signed a 5-year extension worth about $54 million. He's going to be getting about anywhere between 10 and 12 per year.
So if this thing goes through for some reason with this Syracuse playing at Colorado spring game deal they're trying to make happen, I have an idea who should pay for the plane. Deion should pay for the plane.
It's prime time.
Yeah, he should fly Syracuse out.
He's now the fourth highest paid college football coach, which is very intriguing. There's a lot more than records going into this payday. This year was not terrible. Last year, not the best. I got those right? They're not flipped.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got those
They were good. They were good. They were a game out. They missed the conference title game by a game this year. Last year, they were meh. But they were better.
Their first year.
But they were better than what Colorado has been for a decade, which has been god awful.
Yeah, and this is clearly Colorado not paying Deion for what he's done. It's for what he can do, the eyes he brings to the program. I mean, in my lifetime, I can 100% say Colorado's never been more popular than it is right now, especially with college football.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to like this. I'm sure this is before you're remembering it, but like the last time there was anything resembling vibes around Colorado football, you're going back to the mid-early 90s when Cordell Stewart was there, when Michael Westbrook was there. They had some great teams. But that was all based all around. I mean, and Cordell was cool and all that, but that was all based around that they were really, really good.
Yeah,
this is based around. Like they were good this year, but this is based around something different. This is just straight vibes.
Yeah, and that's the thing is they did improve from last year to this year. I do think this is an interesting time to get the contract because the team clearly is not going to be quite as good as last year, in my opinion, unless something happens. I think they lost a lot of big name guys within the team, whether that be Hunter, whether
like
that
the quarterback
be Shadur,
and the Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah, so it's going to be hard to be as good next year as you are this year. So I'm very surprised it came now and not after next season.
Well, I think it's one where you as Colorado, you got it right, at least so far, in taking the risk on Deion. And this contract's not going to make it go away, and I don't know what the buyouts are, but there's always going to be chatter around him going to the Cowboys or going to the NFL, going to Coach Shadur. Well, follow me here. This is not a large leap to take. That say the Giants or the Browns take Shadur Sanders, and their head coach gets fired. They're the second and third pick in the draft. Their head coaches are both in the chopping block. The rumor mill of Deion to go coach Shadur in the NFL, I can start that right now. Or if Florida State comes open, if Florida State has another terrible year, those rumors are never going to go away with him. So do something, try to lock him up. He basically single-handedly has resuscitated your football
program. Yeah, 100%.
By himself. It's been amazing to watch.
And it's them showing him loyalty, and that is Colorado saying, hey, listen, we brought you in a couple of years ago. You've done every single thing you told us you were going to do to this point. We still believe in you. Let's lock it up. Let's look about the future of this team. I think it was cool on both sides. Like I said, I was a little surprised it came this year and not next, but as you've mentioned, with his son going into the league, you never know.
I could be wrong. I think he'd been making around 5.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
it's a good payday increase.
100% raise is always nice.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah. Same.
Maybe we can try to get it in the works.
Maybe Deion can pay for it.
Maybe.
Yeah, he can. I know he can.
Well, he could.
He probably won't, but he could if he feels like it. He can afford it. He wouldn't even notice.
Let's keep it in college a little bit, but we're going to move over to the women's basketball. So today, Paige Buchers announced that she will be going into the WNBA draft this upcoming offseason, I should say. This is not too surprising. I feel like I'm not going to speak for everybody because I am still very limited on my knowledge of college basketball. I'm still learning as I go. But it seems like if the injury never happened last year, this would have been a no doubt for last season, her going to the league. Is that weird to say?
Paige Beckers. We'll give you some updated.
I always get her name wrong.
It looks like Buchers, but it's pronounced Beckers. She's the same year as Caitlin Clark, but had a knee injury that cost her much of a year a couple years ago. I think it was her sophomore year where she was hurt. So she has the option for a fifth year if she wants it, but she's also clearly going to be the number one pick in the WNBA draft. And it's kind of now like she and Clark were AAU teammates and, major recruits at the same time. It's probably getting lost to history now. Paige Beckers was the number one recruit in that class. Caitlin Clark was fourth, I want to say. Like, she wasn't a schlub, but she wanted to go do her own thing. She went to Iowa, and obviously it's worked out for everybody. Clark has become the big star. It was Beckers, her freshman year, took a UConn team as a freshman back to the Final Four. This is one where if she went back to UConn, I'm sure there's huge NIL opportunities. But because of what Clark accomplished, some of that stuff's going to be there for Becker. She's going to have a sneaker contract of a decent level. There's these new leagues now where maybe you don't have to go play overseas, and you have other stuff over here. You can augment your WNBA salary. It feels like, I know it's technically leaving. It's not really early, but she could have left later, I guess is the right way to put it. But yeah, it makes sense. It feels right for Beckers to go now and get out there with Clark and become one of the faces of the league. Yeah, and she's incredible all year round, but she is something special when we get into March Madness. I mean, she's leading, it seems like, every single statistical category for active players right now in the NCAA tournament. So, I mean, and she didn't even play last year's tournament, correct? Because she was out the whole year. Beckers was out. Or did she come back at the end? I don't remember. I've lost track of which year. She's been hurt a lot.
Yeah.
I think she played last year. Did she? I don't remember.
Oh, well. I'll take that one.
This just in per Chris Carlson, Syracuse.com. You all think I'm about to say something about the portal, don't you?
I assume.
I'm not.
Oh.
The NCAA Division FBS Oversight Committee has opposed the waiver from Syracuse and Colorado, aiming to allow the teams to compete in a spring game in joint practices.
I don't think.
Well, that's going to go over like a fart in church. So now the Syracuse and Colorado get to sue the NCAA. Woo! Which actually will set it up well for next year, because I right now, I'm saying right now, it is March 28th, 2025. Right now, I'm telling you, next year this will happen. I haven't even read the article yet. Next year, this will happen. Do we have a caller on the line? Jordan's trying to open up the call manager. Did we lose where did it go? Who's here? Let's. What time is it? We got time for one. There's a lot going on right now. One quick call, Joe in Portland. We just got a few seconds left. What's up, Joe?
Hey, Brian, I just want to say I was reading some posts on Kyle, the new transfer. There was one comment that I read on Noon's Magician. It came from a UCLA fan. So this is straight from the horse's mouth. He says, this is 4 hours ago, he said, "This is an excellent get for Cuse. I watched Kyle all year. I went to Cuse and I'm a UCLA season ticket holder. Stats don't tell the entire story about Kyle. He helped UCLA beat Wisconsin with a last-second block. Kyle is the type of athletic big man Cuse needs. He is a rim runner, something every team needs and certainly didn't have. Finally, Kyle played behind two players who were better than anyone in Cuse last year. This guy named Mara, who's like a 7'2 center, says he could be the next year's Klingon or Boudreau. He's a better shooter, something like that. Kyle finally is used to cold and most likely doesn't cost crazy NIL. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, it sounds like even if it is just like a backup big man, and from what I've seen too, he also has a 44-inch vertical leap. I mean, there aren't many players. Yeah, there aren't many players who are 6'9" that can say that. Even players who are 6'4". So that's a pretty good get if it's just a backup. So, yeah, I just want to say that I think that's actually a really good get for Syracuse, and that's all I got.
All right, Joe. Thank you. Joe from the West Coast reporting on what somebody else from the West Coast said about the new Syracuse player coming here from the West Coast. This segment's had a lot.
You know, I jumped 49 inches high one time. Yeah, I was changing a light bulb, and then when I got done, I just jumped off the 4-foot ladder.
It was down?
Yeah.
It was a down. Yeah.
But I was 49 inches.
That's a fitting end to the segment. What's on tap is next. Q Sports Talk, ESPN Radio.
This is your invitation to the...
Man, that segment got a little wacky.
It's hot in here.
Which is unusual.
Yeah. That was a good segment.
What was her name in Rome? Mary?
Kathy.
Kathy?
And it was her birthday. Her birthday's 2 days before mine. Wednesday.
Your birthday's today?
You've been here the whole day and haven't known. I guess I haven't really said anything. But yeah, my birthday's today. I'm 29.
Oh, happy birthday to Mike.
Thanks, man.
I haven't actually been here the whole day. I was
That
at
is
the Darryl
true.
Strawberry event.
Yeah, and for like half the day, I wasn't here. Well, for 1 hour, but you know what I mean.
That was a really weird way to tell me it's your birthday. But happy birthday to you.
I honestly thought you told me happy birthday.
No.
Let's
I mean,
pretend you
yes.
did. Yeah.
Yes, I did. Because I'm very knowledgeable
Jordan's
of your
a real
birthday.
MVP. I'm going to throw him under the bus, but in a positive way.
What?
Today, he
Who's
showed
ever
up.
been positively under the bus?
He showed up today, and he brought me a drink. And it was from Dunkin' Donuts.
How's that throwing him under the bus?
Because I don't know if he would want me to say that. I think he just wanted to do it out of the kindness of his heart. I don't know if he wants kudos.
Jordan
But he
says
deserves it.
He did throw me under the bus. It was Starbucks.
Oh, yeah, it was Starbucks. It was really good, though. I really liked it. I was very surprised.
He got you Starbucks, not Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, that was my fault. I'm not a huge coffee fan, and he knows that.
Yeah.
So he took a gamble, and he got me like a mocha frap of something with
Starbucks
like
nonsense
chocolate.
drink? Okay, yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah.
I drink it every day. Now I know why people get a
Starbucks mocha crunch frap.
Mike McAllister just texted me, jumped 49 inches, ... off a ladder. I'm dead. Laughing, crying
I was wondering
faces.
where that was going. I honestly did not see the end of that joke coming. You got a mocha cookie crumble frappuccino blended beverage.
And it was delicious.
You got a grande, 480 calories.
Enjoyed every.
It presents well.
It was very good
photographically.
It was very ice cream type of flavor.
Yeah,
feeling.
I mean it's not. It's a dessert.
Yeah. Fantastic.
But it's your birthday. You should have a dessert.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, Mike, you got 1 year left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm 30, the dirty 30. Last year was my, what do they call it? It's like when your age is the day that you're like of your birthday. I was 28 on 28 last year.
Oh, do they call that something?
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called. It's like your something year. I don't remember.
It's got to be rough if you're born in like November or December or October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess if you were born like, never mind.
Or
that was almost so stupid.
Or if you're born like later in a month, in any month. Like if you're born, if your birthday's February 15th, you're kind of SOL on this thing.
I was gonna say, what if you're older than 30? Because like, in my head, I was like, what if you're like 47? And then
then it's gonna work if you were born on April 7th.
Yeah, or you were just 7 at one point.
Yeah. If you were born on April 18th, I don't know if you're ever going to be 418.
How many months have 28 days in them?
All of them.
No, got that wrong.
Yeah, we don't cost Mike his hourly paycheck because it's his birthday. Yeah, it's your birthday. Get out of here. But I need the money. Get out.
Higgins.
All right, back at it here to put the final wraps on things on this Friday.
Here's what's on tap tonight.
I'm still reading into this. The NCAA, they've opposed the waiver for the Cuse Colorado spring game. Lots of gobbledygook. This is not an official final ruling. This is just passing it along from the committee to the NCAA or something. Who wants to bet that sometime within the next 12 months that this will get turned around? And, sign me up for Syracuse and Colorado in about 12 and a half months, spring game in Boulder. Let's just all meet there next year. What's on tap tonight? Women's Sweet 16 is going on. Men's Sweet 16, Ole Miss, Michigan State, Kentucky, Tennessee, Michigan, Auburn, Purdue, Houston, all of it on our AM dial. Crunch Comets here on the FM. Tomorrow, Lax at Virginia, 1 o'clock over on TK. Elite 8 games, Texas Tech, Florida, Alabama, and Duke. Monday when we're back, we'll have the Final Four to discuss. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. We're back at it Monday, 4 o'clock right here at Q Sports Talk at ESPN Radio.